Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Lisa, and today I want to talk to you about privilege and EEOC. I'm a middle-class white woman who talks about the discrimination that I suffered at NASA. I think it's pretty obvious that I'm working with a little privilege. But as privileged as I am in most ways, I am still a female scientist with multiple disabilities. And those things have caused me to become the victim of discrimination a few times. When I was younger, I wasn't as privileged as I am today. I grew up in a poor, dysfunctional hillbilly family. A hillbilly life is a hard life, especially for little girls. And I worked really hard to escape it. And so did my mom. She worked 2 jobs and sometimes 3, and went to night school, so she wasn't around much. My sister and I lived mostly with our grandmother. Granny was a strong, no-nonsense woman who grew up in the Great Depression. I grew up in the South in the 1960s. Most of the people that I knew from church or school were overtly racist. So one day I asked Granny, "Are we racists?" She just looked at me and said, "Child, no, we're dirt poor. And when you're dirt poor, there is no black and white, there's only dirt poor." In the Great Depression, when Granny was growing up, a lot of families went hungry sometimes. And hunger was a great equalizer. Because of all that, I understood what Granny was trying to say with her dirt poor comment. But in time, I learned what she was telling me wasn't exactly right. But I do know that my black friends and neighbors have to deal with things that I don't. That point got driven home when hubby and I first moved here. Breonna Taylor had just happened, and it blew us away that something like that could happen to a good kid with a bright future who was doing all the things we tell our kids they're supposed to do. That should be scary for all of us, because if it can happen to her today, it can happen to us tomorrow. And another thing that drove home the point was a conversation with a black policeman that we met at a food truck rally. We were telling him that we just moved here from the South, so he started telling us about his family vacation to Florida. He said that he was worried the whole drive through Georgia that he was going to get pulled over just for being a black man in a nice car. And his fear was only compounded by the fact that he was a cop, because he was carrying his service revolver, like he always did and was allowed to do. But he was afraid that in a traffic stop situation, he might not get a chance to prove that he was allowed to do it before something terrible happened to him or his family. These are things that me and my husband never worry about, because we don't have to. Granny taught us to share food with neighbors who are hungry. And in a way, I feel like that's what I'm trying to do with these videos. I feel like employees need to band together to beat discrimination, because if we don't, we're all going to end up suffering. My privilege helped me win my case, because I could afford to hire an attorney to help me with my hearing, and not everybody can. My granny would say that because of that, I have a responsibility to share with the next person who's fighting. Unfortunately, I can't pay an attorney for everybody who needs one. I'm afraid at $500 an hour, even my maximum award wouldn't go very far. But I can offer my experience, strength, and hope as a human being who has survived the grinder that is the EEOC process. I think we need more voices out there saying things like, "It's okay to fight. You can win. And by the way, here's some things that might help you win." This week I ran across a post from a woman to a group of mostly anti-discrimination lawyers. She was poor, too disabled to work, and dealing with fair housing issues. And she asked these lawyers 2 brilliant questions. What good is discrimination law when you need a lawyer to even fight, and none of them will even call you back? And you only work for the rich. Where's the justice in that? Which is so the point. EEOC is supposed to ensure the rights of protected workers, all protected workers. Justice for sale isn't justice at all. And privilege shouldn't make a difference at EEOC, but it sure seems to. I wish I knew how to fix that. If any of you out there have ideas about that, I'm all ears. I'd like to think that if a lot of us talked to our elected representatives and we prioritized equal rights when we vote, that eventually Congress might change something. But I don't have a lot of faith in politicians these days. Which means it's up to us. If the system won't help employees, we have to help ourselves and each other. So I make these videos to pass along a little information and encouragement to you guys. And I do that in the hope that if you do win, you'll share your experience too. We need as many voices as we can get. The system may not change for a long time, if ever. But if enough of us can win and commit to helping the next person survive this messed up game, maybe one day employers will realize that discrimination is costing them a lot of money and taking up a lot of their time and resources. And maybe then employers will start to change, whether or not the system ever does. That's the best hope I have anyway. You guys hang in and take care. Fight smart.